According to a Deloitte Global report, lack of work-life balance is the biggest reason why women consider leaving their employer, followed by lack of benefits or low compensation. Another research project done in South Africa found that women in academia feel guilty trying to juggle their work responsibilities and their roles as homemaker or parent. They also felt torn between teaching and research, with the pressure on South African universities to become more research incentive, adding to the stress of maintaining research projects that are a major consideration for promotion.
So I do think that men have a better work-life balance in general, not always. We take on everything. Some men are obviously also like that, but men and women are different. But women take on everything, every little thing you're worried about.
In my opinion, I have felt that it has been easier for male colleagues to build their careers. This is just naturally from the fact that the playing field is already not level due to natural processes. As a woman, I am a mother, I am a sister, I might play specific roles in society that might differ from a man. And also we've got gender roles that we play whereby I might be a nurturer at home, which impacts the way in which I turn up at work or in my career.
Men do achieve things faster than women in science. And I think it's because men are sort of no-nonsense takers. They sort of go, and if they want something, they go and do it. Whereas women are often more sensitive to personality clashes and things like that and would rather avoid it than just go ahead. And then we get bashed for it as well. You know, if a woman is assertive, then we get someone sort of steps back and say, what you're doing. But if a man is assertive, it's fine. So there definitely is that barrier.
I felt that for my male colleagues, it is a bit easier for them to enjoy that work-life balance. We get back from our different working areas, and as a woman you would maybe have to be the one that is cooking, that is cleaning, that is doing the nurturing in a home, whereas in a traditional home you will find that the man will come home and maybe be watching TV, doing different activities, whereas for the woman it's like you leave work to go to work. And for the man, they leave work and they're able to do other things and enjoy that specific amount of time. So definitely there is a big difference, and they're able to balance out that work-life balance much better than a woman would be able to.
With the women, we have a lot of responsibilities, taking care of our families, raising kids, going through all the 9 months pregnancy and everything else. It also affects your career, especially in science.
So I haven't experienced a gender pay gap issue, not because I don't think it's not there. People don't talk about their salaries. Even between universities, I think we have vastly different ranges of pay for the same sort of role, but people don't talk about what they're earning. So I think that actually opening that discussion of what are people earning will balance out an issue that is there.
More males get more money than females. But then in my personal experience, I have never experienced it.
I think men in science are achieving promotions quicker, whether it be in science or any sort of career. I think it is because of how the systems or the structures are placed. If you are working in a specific company and the company puts value on your time, how you're able to show up at work and all of those responsibilities, men usually come out tops because they might not have all of those accessory or periphery activities that they need to do. So when they get to work, they're able to focus solely on work, whereas when you're a woman, there are usually things that are in the periphery that you are worried about, such as children.
So I think the gender pay gap is definitely not only within science. I think this is something that's internationally in place. And the only way that we're going to fix this is for pay packages to be transparent to some extent.
I think the gender pay gap in science is definitely evident, and it still is like that because there are structures and systems that we come from as a nation or as a society that we are still moving through. It is not something that we're going to wake up one day and it's going to be over. In a company, whether it be public or private, we need to be intentional about making sure that these gender pay gaps are addressed, so that we can actually move forward and move out of the problem that we are actually facing.
I do think that women end up receiving less funding in academia. And this is again a factor of women having time to go and do the grants. Women are yes people. We always want to help, we want to look after people, so we say yes to everything. Whereas a man will say, listen, I don't have time and I'm not going to do it. And then they will obviously be able to focus on the things that are really essential. So it's a personality thing, female versus male. And I think women, we do need to stand up for ourselves a little bit and say, no, I'm going to focus on this. And that's okay. They shouldn't be, oh, you're not a team player now. You know, men don't get told they're not team players. So let the women do it as well.
I think what can be done to remove the gender pay gap in scientific careers is to pay people their value and not pay people in terms of whether they are male, female, green, blue, black, whatever the case might be. But let us pay people according to the value that they bring to the work they do. Let us be transparent about the salaries when we are applying for jobs and making sure that we already level the playing field before we even enter the world of work.
The access to research funding is available to all. I think there's no restrictions there. The NRF does in fact it gives women priority. So we are receiving assistance there. I think it's more having the time to go do the research grant, find the collaborator, work with a collaborator, and maybe we need more women collaborators. You know, we tend to maybe collaborate with a man more easily because there's more of them in science. And I think that's the wrong thing to do. I think we should find our women peers and we should do it together, and we will be incredibly successful if we approach it like that.
I think firstly we need to tackle the situation of the research, women and funding all together. Do we have a lot of female researchers? Not really that much. So we need to start by recruiting women in research to do those research before we could find the funding for them. The other thing, I think even the awareness, it's lacking in some instances. You find that you will have a woman who's having an undergraduate degree, but then they struggle to even access the postgraduate. So for you to give them the funding in postgraduate, they need to first start having access into the postgraduate degree, of which is also a struggle. I think there need to be a link between the two, the funding and the research, before you even have to access them. And then we need to make sure we prioritize on women, especially the young women.
So hurdles that women experience in science that maybe force them to leave academia and go into corporate are very much related to family and financial situations. So academia does not pay as well as industry. It doesn't pay badly, but we could definitely be earning more if we were in industry. And as soon as you start having a family, you have more expenses, you have more responsibilities. So we especially students, postgrad students rely on bursaries to be studying full time, and our bursaries are not enough for someone to survive on. They're very unrealistic. They've improved more recently, but they're still unrealistic.
Some of the obstacles that the women face in the science industry that end up making them go for another field is because of science is too practical. Science requires time frame. So some of the things, women are more busy with other things, so they end up not being able to balance, and they end up not meeting that time frame, like the deadline. So they end up just leaving because they have other things to focus more on than the research. So I think it's also a matter of priority. They can prioritize on things, but then it's difficult to commit on them because they also have other things as well that they are busy working on.
For someone to be able to pay their fees, to have a monthly amount of money to live off, and to then bring up children, young children at that stage of your life, it's not enough money. So you then rely on your partner to be the breadwinner. And I think that now we're recreating the stereotype. So we need funding for women, better funding, and so that they're not forced to leave academia and go into corporate. One of our current PhD students who's been registered for a while and has had 2 kids, so she's got 2 very small kids in the duration of that, and she wanted to give up completely. She said, I just can't handle it. I can't handle it financially, and I can't be there for my family. And so her funder and myself have chatted with her, and I really think the approach of 2 women assisting her has really helped her. She's now on track. She's making a plan. She's gone to corporate, but her boss there is also supporting her. But again, it's about a support network.
Due to lack of opportunities or lack of encouragement, they ended up going to study Bachelor of Education. So now at the moment they are in the Education and Training Center than the agriculture. And for them, the first calling was agriculture, but because there were no opportunities, there were no encouragement and other things, they had to go the other route, of which is very sad because it was also time consuming for them.